What is up, guys? Today we're back with a maintenance video on the Corolla. We're doing an oil change. It's a very basic job and simple, so I thought I'd show you guys how to do it in case you haven't done it yet, or in case you just bought your first car and were wondering how to do an oil change on it. So this job doesn't have to be messy, doesn't have to be long, and doesn't have to be complicated. I'll show you exactly step by step how to get it all done. All you need is a 14mm wrench or socket with a ratchet, oil, the oil filter, and a drain pan, which I actually use. You can use just a bin that you buy from Walmart for $1, or I use a cat litter box that I found in the garage. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Okay, so going under the hood, you want to locate the oil filler cap, which is this. It actually says engine oil on it, so you really can't miss it. The oil dipstick is right behind it, which is how you measure your oil. It says engine oil on it, you can't miss it. And the oil filter is actually right down there. Let me get a flashlight. It's right down there behind the manifold. See it? Alright, so before we get started, let me come back and talk about the oil a little bit. So as you can see here, I have 10W40 oil. Now what this means is 10 is the weight of the oil, or the viscosity of it, when it's cold. W stands for winter. 40 is the viscosity of it when it's warmed up, when it's at 100 degrees Celsius. This is at 0. Now if we look in our service manual, as you can see, this car actually calls for 5W30 or 10W30. So for the 7 AFE engine, which is a 1.8 Corolla engine, if you have this one, it says 5W30 preferred. However, take into consideration the temperature outside, because if you put 5W30, that is preferred for these temperatures. So if the exterior temperature gets above 100 degrees Fahrenheit for you, then you should probably switch to 10W30. If it gets cold in the winter, then you should probably use 5W30. Now again, the reason I'm using 10W40, which is something thicker, is because this car has over 300,000 miles on it, and it burns a good amount of oil, and 10W40 just helps it lubricate it better. It helps take care of those small gaps inside the engine that have been created over time from just wear and tear on the engine. It overall just likes it better. So if you have a car with high mileage on it, I actually do recommend going slightly thicker. Maybe it's not the case to go with 10W40 for you, but maybe 10W30 instead of 5W30. As to oil filter, I bought a bunch of these online so that I can buy in bulk and save on money, because I drive so much and change my oil often. I actually change it every 3,000 miles on this car, because if I go over, it doesn't really like it. The oil gets thinner, and well, not thinner, but it flows a little more, and if it's not thick, it just starts burning a little more. So I just change it every 3,000 miles on this. But again, when it comes to filters, you can go to, I buy my oil from Walmart. You can buy the filters from Walmart too. I used to do that. Just don't get the cheap Fram ones. That's all I have to say. Just don't get the cheap ones. You can also buy stuff from AutoZone or from your local auto parts store. That's fine. It's just probably going to be a little more money. When it comes to oil brands, I like Castrol GTX, high mileage. It's not a fully synthetic one, and I would not recommend running a fully synthetic in this car, even if it doesn't have high mileage, because these engines were not designed for fully synthetic, so it might create leaks and it might accelerate burning. Therefore, I'm running semi-synthetic, or a synthetic blend in this case. I would love to buy and run conventional oil, but they actually don't make high mileage conventional oil. They only make synthetic blend high mileages. So this is good enough for me. I like this. I've been running this in this car for a couple years now, and I've been running it in all the cars I take care of, the Camry, and all the other ones. So this is good stuff. I've read a lot of reviews about it. A lot of people say they're happy with it. So I'm just gonna use this one, and I haven't had absolutely any problems with it so far. So having said that, let's get started on the oil change. So as opposed to what you may think, it's not necessary to jack up the car, or at least not this car. This car actually sits high enough in the front as to where I can get underneath and change the oil with it on the ground. but I will jack it up a little bit just for the purpose of this video so I can show you guys from underneath. Alright, now that you've jacked up the car, get your drain pan or whatever you want to use. Make sure it's clean, sort of. Doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly clean, but slide it underneath. And as you get underneath the car, the oil pan is located right here on the passenger side, and this is a 14mm bolt that we're gonna have to take out. Now, as I said, this job does not have to be messy. All you need to make sure is when you unscrew this, you keep pressure upwards on it to basically clog up the hole at all times, because as soon as you loosen this, it's going to want to start dripping out. So let's loosen this and let me show you. Alright, so I loosened it. Now I'm going to screw it back in a little bit. Now I'm going to take it out by hand. So what you want to do is make sure you center the oil pan underneath, keep upwards pressure on it, and just unscrew it and spin it off. And eventually it will start to slowly drip, but as long as you keep pressure on it, it should be fine. Now when you feel it that it's really loose and it's ready to come out, suddenly pull it out and the oil should drain with no mess. Now you want to keep the drain bolt in a clean place. I'm just going to put it here on my jack because you don't want to get any dirt or debris on it. So while I let this drain, I'm actually going to move the drain pan a little bit to the right here so that it centers under the oil filter, so that at the same time we can remove the oil filter and change that out. Now, as I said, the oil filter is right underneath the manifold there, and as you can see, my oil pan is centered underneath it. So what I'm going to do is with my left hand, my right hand doesn't really fit in there at the right angle. You will unscrew it. Hopefully it's not too tight. I have had to take a big wrench to it before, or an oil filter wrench, but if you do it right, it should not be too tight. Now unscrew it, untighten it, and loosen it up just a little bit, just break it loose, and then turn it about one turn, and it's gonna start draining oil. Maybe, yep. I don't think you can see it, but, oh, maybe you can. It's gonna start dripping oil. So this is why you want the oil pan, or the drain pan, underneath it. So as it drips, you want to turn a little more and slowly unscrew it. It's going to drip a lot of oil, but it should stop eventually, and then you can turn it more and remove it. Now when you remove it, try not to turn it upside down because it's going to splash all over the place, but eventually you'll get it out. And make sure you drain the rest of it inside of your drain pan. And then just set this aside. So I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but this car with the oil filter takes just about 4 quarts of oil. So changing the filter is simple, but there is one step that you must do every time, and that is to lubricate this rubber seal. And actually you want to make sure that the old filter comes off with the rubber seal, because if the other one gets stuck on there and you put the new one on, it's not going to make a good seal, and that is no good. So what I usually do is I take the old filter, so just put your finger on it, get some on your glove, and then rub it around the new seal just to make sure that it seals properly, because the oil will actually make it seat in and make a perfect seal. Doesn't have to be drenched in oil, just coat it on top. And then this old oil filter, make sure it's all drained. And what I usually do, you don't recycle these, you just throw them out. So I put them in the old box and in the trash. Alright, so when putting the new filter on, just make sure you don't hit it on anything to not get any debris in it. And as you can see, the threads are right there. Hopefully you can see that on camera. And what you want to do is try and match up the threads as well as you can. Don't worry if you can't see anything, because I can't either, and you won't be able to see much, but thread it on. And what you want to do is feel for when it stops spinning freely, and then give it a half of a turn after that. So make it snug and then give it another half. Usually you won't be able to go half before it feels too tight. So just go between a quarter and half a turn, and that should be all. These filters should not be like super tight. They should be hand tight. Not with a wrench, not with an oil filter wrench or whatever, just hand tight. While the old oil is still draining out of the engine after we've removed the filter, what I usually have to do is an extra step. You definitely won't have to do it. I have installed an oil catch can on this car. And what an oil catch can does is it takes all the fumes that come out of the PCV valve, which used to be routed straight back into the intake, which is oil fumes that get created in the crankcase. And instead of burning them right away and routing them through the intake, I put a catch can on it, which does what the name implies. It catches. It's a can that catches oil. And as you can see, it has some oil in it. So I'm just going to remove this and drain it. Basically why you want to do this is so that, as I said, the oil fumes that come out of the crankcase do not get burnt, but rather collected, and that way they don't clog up the intake. So it keeps everything cleaner and a little better burning. Now I bought this off of eBay. It was $15, and if you do choose to get one, be aware that they actually come empty. They are not supposed to be empty. The good ones have baffles in them that as soon as the oil enters or the fumes enter, they go through these baffles, it gets filtered, and then it drops to the bottom. This is an empty can because eBay. So what I did was I stuffed a bunch of steel wool through the bottom, and the steel wool acts as a net basically for the fumes, collects it, and then you end up with what it's supposed to do, oil. This is not actually oil, it's going to be a little milkier, but not milkier, but runnier, because they're oil fumes, and a lot of times they're combined with some water vapor and everything, so they do get a little runnier, but you still have a bunch of oil residue in here. Alright, so as you can see, I've removed the jack stands from the car because the oil drain is in the front of the pan, so if you jack up the front of the car, not all of the oil will drain. But now that it's done draining, before you remove the pan, because a lot of times it's going to keep dripping for like an hour just because it's oil and it flows slowly, especially at the end, but you want to take your drain bolt and see how it's still dripping. As soon as you put it in, it's going to stop dripping. Finger tighten it, and then you want to get your wrench or your ratchet or whatever you use to untighten it, and just make it tight, hand tight with that. You don't want to go crazy. You don't want to use, well, you could use a torque wrench. I'm not sure of the torque specs. I'm assuming it's somewhere between 20 and 30. It doesn't have to be too tight, and a lot of people will say to replace the crush washer that's in there, or the washer that seals it. I don't even have a washer, and I've never put one on, and my oil has never leaked, well, from the drain bolt. It has had other oil pan leaks, but not related to the drain bolt whatsoever. So what I do is I set this to tighten, remove the drain pan so I can get more room, then just put it on, and give it maybe like an eighth of a turn. As you saw, that's all it takes. Now it's tight. After you do it a couple times, you can get a feel for how tight you should make it, and if you're not sure, then tighten it up, put it back on loosen, and try untightening it. See how it feels, see if you're happy with the result. If you want to look up the torque specs, again, I said it's probably going to be between 20 and 30. I would probably do 25. If you need a breaker bar to break this loose, don't be afraid to use one, because I've had oil change places tighten these up very, very tight before. Same with the oil filter. So if you need a breaker bar to undo this, don't be surprised for the first time. After you do this yourself, you're going to be torquing it to the right specs, so this is not going to be an issue anymore. You're just going to need a wrench or a ratchet, and that's it. Alright, so now that we have everything done down there, the oil is drained, the new filter is in the oil catch can. Oh, oil catch can. Gotta empty that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same technique that I used for the oil drain bolt. I'm going to keep upwards pressure on this until it's ready to go. I'm actually going to tilt it sideways a little bit until it's ready to come out. See how it's not as oily? Kind of splashes around. Well, that's about it for this. I do suggest that you get this, especially if you have a high mileage vehicle like this one. This one has 303,000 miles on it, and well, it's not the best on oil consumption, I'll admit it, but with the right care and often oil changes, it'll battle on. Alright, so this is all done. Put the drain bolt back, and then you're gonna have to wipe it up because it kind of made a mess. This doesn't have to be super tight either, just hand tighten it. It does have a rubber seal on it, so it will seal even if it's not too tight. So if you do decide to get one, this is actually a good location for it because I used a stock bolt hole. I didn't drill anything, I didn't modify anything. This is completely removable and it'll look perfectly stock, especially if you keep the stock hose. But this will come with a longer tube down on the inside and a shorter one. I put the hose that it comes in on the longer one. I think it's this one, but it really doesn't matter as long as the steel wool is stuffed all the way up inside of this canister. Also, make sure you don't put this too high up because it'll hit the hood, and that is no good. So put it about halfway down, tighten it up, and there you go, oil catch can drained. So next step is filling up the oil. So what I like to do is I like to pull out the dipstick so that it doesn't get covered with oil, and just leave it here. Put your funnel in, and the reason I pull out the dipstick is because at the end we'll have to measure it and make sure we have the right amount of oil. As I said, it takes about 4 quarts, so you know that as a guide, and the bottles have markers on the side of them, so you'll know when you get to 4 quarts, but we want to measure it and make sure that it actually is full in case it takes a little bit more or a little bit less. Now, because we changed the filter as well, which you should do every time you change your oil, I like to go up to the full mark on the dipstick, but then go a little bit more, maybe about a millimeter or 2 over the fill mark, because the oil that is in the oil pan needs to also fill up the filter first. And the reason we can't pre-fill it or prime it, as some people might call it, is because it's a sideways mounted oil filter, and if we fill the filter with oil at all, as soon as we turn it sideways to screw it on, it will all drip out like it did when we undid it. So it'll just make a mess and waste fresh oil. So you can just put it on and then turn on the car and let it run for a little bit. Now, I actually had already used a quart of oil from this, so I only had 4 quarts in this bottle, so I'm just gonna put all of it in. But now that we've got it all in, let's measure it and see what we're at. Okay, so as you saw, we measured it. It's about a millimeter over the full line, and that is perfect. That is exactly what I fill it to when I do an oil change, because as I said, it needs to fill the oil filter. Now there's 2 things that are left to do, or 3 things actually. Number 1 is take care of this old oil. Places that sell oil, especially auto parts stores, will take this back for free and recycle it for you. If not, your town might, and if not, I don't know, just don't throw it out in the yard.
It's in the front of my mind. As I fall apart, you begin to cry.
Alright, so now that that's draining, everything's done here, we can go ahead and close the hood, take the car off of the jack stands if you haven't done so already. So 2 more things that we have to do. I use these oil change stickers. I bought them on eBay. They were $5 or $10 for like 100, so super cheap, and they're a good reminder as to when to change your oil. So as I said, my car has 303,621 miles. Now you can round, obviously this is not You don't have to do it super precisely. So I'm probably gonna say every 3,000 miles, so that's 306,600. I'll just say 303,700. So after you peel this sticker off, it's actually not sticky on the back side. It has this weird adhesive that sticks to windows and glass. Basically what you want to do is put it right where you want it, and then just stick it on, make sure the Sharpie is dry, and it should stick on right away. And there you go, 306,700. I do it every 6 months, although this oil could probably go a year. It's a synthetic blend, maybe 8 months or so, but I always reach the mileage before I reach the time. But you do want to change it every 6 to 8 months if you use a synthetic blend, 6 months if you use conventional, and 1 year if you use fully synthetic. I can link these down in the description. You can pick some up. You can buy less than 100. You can buy a pack of 20 even for like $2 or something. So it's definitely worth it. It's a good reminder. It's right up here on your windshield, so you can't miss it. Last thing to do is idle it for a minute or so, make sure there are no leaks. There shouldn't be. If there are, that's no good, but take it for a test drive, make sure everything's good, and that's about it. So turn it on and let it run for a few seconds, like 10 seconds, then shut it off and check for leaks. Okay, did you see that oil pressure light that was right there? Mine didn't actually really idle that high. It was probably still primed from when I pulled it into the garage. But did you see that oil pressure light right there? I'll shut off the car. That light right there is the oil pressure light. As soon as that turns off, you're good to go. And every time you do start the car, keep an eye on that. You don't want to drive before that turns off. But as you can see, we got no leaks. That's perfect. Job is done. Clean up our mess, and then off you go. So as you can see, changing the oil is not that big of a job. It doesn't have to be difficult or long. It took me about an hour with filming. It usually takes me about 20 minutes at most, but that's just because every time I change the oil, I check all the other fluids. It can take you 15 minutes, but at that point, you're not really letting the oil fully drain. So I would say about 20 minutes for an oil change is a perfect duration. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more. Leave a like if it helped you. Stay tuned for more.